Millionaire Dad rushed to hospital to visit his sick adopted black daughter. What he saw his wife doing shocked him. Terrence Harrison pushed open the hospital room door, and what he saw in that split second would break him in ways he didn't know a man could break. He wasn't supposed to catch her. Maya had only been in the hospital for a few hours. Exhaustion and dehydration, the school nurse said, scary but treatable. Terrence had been there when they admitted her, held her small hand in his large brown one, whispered that Daddy would be right back. His wife, Nicole, had volunteered to stay. "Go handle your calls," she'd said sweetly. "I'll watch over her." He trusted her. So when Terrence wrapped up his conference call early and decided to surprise them both with Maya's favorite stuffed bear, a worn brown teddy she'd had since the adoption, he walked into St. Matthew's Hospital with nothing but gratitude in his heart. The pediatric wing was quiet that afternoon. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, painting the hallway in soft gold. He smiled at a passing nurse, clutched the little bear a little tighter, and headed toward room 214. That's when he heard it. A muffled struggle, the frantic, jarring beep of a heart monitor spiking. His stomach dropped. Terrence's hand hit the door, pushing it open, and time fractured. Nicole stood over Maya's bed, both hands gripping the clear oxygen mask, pulling it away from their daughter's face. Maya's small body twisted weakly beneath the white sheets, her fingers twitching, her chest heaving in desperate, silent gasps for air she couldn't get. And Nicole's face, God! Her face was twisted into something he'd never seen before. Rage, contempt, something cold and decided. Her lips moved, forming words barely louder than a hiss. "You should have never come into this family." The teddy bear hit the floor. "What are you doing?" His voice ripped through the room like a gunshot. Nicole's head snapped toward him. Her eyes went wide, not with shame, but with shock. Shock that he was there. The mask dropped from her hands. Maya's chest lurched, pulling in a ragged, broken gasp. For one impossible second, Terrence couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't reconcile the woman he'd planned to spend his life with, the woman who smiled at investors, who hosted charity brunches, who kissed him goodnight, with the woman standing over his daughter's dying body. This was Nicole, the woman he married, the woman he trusted with his home, his future, his child. But the woman staring back at him now, eyes wild, hands trembling, chest heaving, wasn't the woman he knew at all. And in that moment, Terrence realized something that would change everything. He had no idea who he'd been sleeping beside. But before we dive deeper, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me, have you ever discovered something about someone you loved that completely shattered your view of them? Because sometimes God lets us see the truth just in time before it's too late. Terrence's body moved before his mind caught up. He lunged forward, crossing the room in 2 long strides, and shoved Nicole back hard, placing himself between her and Maya like a wall she'd have to go through to finish what she'd started. His hands found his daughter's face, tilting it gently toward him. "Maya, Maya, baby, look at me. Breathe. Just breathe." Her eyes fluttered open, confused, terrified, searching his face like she wasn't sure if he was real. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but nothing came out except those awful, broken little sounds. The heart monitor screamed. "It's okay," Terrence whispered, smoothing her dark curls back from her damp forehead. His voice cracked. "I'm here. You're safe now. I'm here." Behind him, Nicole stood frozen against the wall, her chest heaving, her hands still shaped like they were holding something she'd dropped. She stared at them at Terrence, cradling Maya at the little girl's fingers, weakly, clutching his sleeve, and for just a moment she looked almost surprised, like she hadn't expected him to walk through that door, like she'd thought she had more time. Terrence didn't look at her. He couldn't. If he did, he didn't know what he'd do. Maya's breathing started to slow just a little. Her grip on his arm tightened, and when her eyes finally focused on his face, really focused, a single tear slipped down her small cheek. "Daddy, I've got you," he said, his voice breaking. "I've got you, baby." The door burst open. Two nurses rushed in, their eyes sweeping the room, taking in the screaming monitor. Maya gasping for air. Terrence hovering over her protectively. Nicole backed into the corner. One nurse moved immediately to Maya's side, checking her vitals, adjusting her oxygen. The other glanced between Terrence and Nicole, her expression hardening. What happened here? Terrence's jaw clenched. He turned slowly, and for the first time since the mask had fallen, he looked at Nicole, really looked at her. She was pale, shaking, her perfectly styled hair disheveled, her silk blouse wrinkled. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. They weren't filled with remorse. They weren't filled with horror at what she'd almost done. They were filled with fear. Not fear for Maya, fear for herself. Terrence's voice came out low, steady, deadly calm. She tried to kill her. I walked in and she was holding the oxygen mask off my daughter's face. The nurse's eyes widened. The second nurse immediately stepped toward the door, speaking quietly into the radio clipped to her scrubs. Security, she was calling security. Nicole's mouth opened. No, that's not Terrence. You don't understand. I saw you." She was struggling to breathe. I was trying to help her sit up. I didn't know what to do. I panicked. You were smothering her. No, I saw you, Nicole. His voice didn't rise. He didn't shout, but the words landed like stones, heavy, unmovable. Nicole's face crumpled. She pressed her back harder against the wall, her hands coming up like she wanted to reach for him, but didn't dare. "Terrence, please. Please just listen to me." She was going to ruin every. She stopped. The room went silent. Even the heart monitor seemed to quiet, its frantic beeping slowing to a steadier rhythm as Maya's oxygen returned. Terrence stared at her. "What did you just say?" Nicole's eyes darted to the nurses, to the door, back to Terrence. Her lips trembled. "I didn't mean, what did you just say?" She shook her head, pressing her lips together, but the words had already escaped, and they hung in the air between them like smoke, visible, undeniable, poisonous. She was going to ruin everything. Two security guards appeared in the doorway, their presence filling the small room. One of them stepped forward, his hand resting casually near his belt. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us." Nicole's eyes snapped to Terrence wide, pleading, desperate. "Terrence! Terrence, don't do this. We can talk about this. Just you and me, please." He didn't answer. One of the guards moved closer. "Ma'am, I love you." Nicole's voice broke, raw and frantic. "I did this because I love you. Don't you see that?" Terrence turned away from her. He sat down slowly in the chair beside Maya's bed and took her small hand in both of his. He didn't watch as they led Nicole out, didn't flinch when her voice rose in the corridor, pleading, sobbing, insisting this was all a misunderstanding. He just held his daughter's hand and tried to breathe. The room felt smaller now, quieter. Maya's breathing had steadied, but her hands still gripped Terrence like she was afraid to let go. Her eyes stayed fixed on his face, not saying anything, just watching him, making sure he was real, making sure he was staying. "I'm not going anywhere," Terrence said softly, though he wasn't sure if he was reassuring her or himself. A doctor rushed in, flanked by another nurse. She moved quickly to Maya's bedside, checking the monitors, examining her throat, her pulse, her eyes. Terrence stood, but didn't step away. He stayed close enough that Maya could still reach for him if she needed to. "Maya, sweetheart, can you hear me?" the doctor asked gently. Maya nodded. The movement was weak, but it was there. "Can you tell me what happened?" Maya's mouth opened. Her voice came out thin and rasping. She was. "Don't," Terrence said, his hand finding hers again. "Don't push yourself, just rest." The doctor's eyes shifted to Terrence. She didn't need to ask. The nurses had already told her. Down the corridor, Nicole's voice carried sharp, frantic, echoing off the sterile walls. "You're making a mistake. He doesn't understand. That girl has been poisoning him against me for years." Terrence closed his eyes. The doctor finished her examination and stepped back, her expression carefully neutral. "She's going to be okay physically, but we'll need to keep her another night for observation." Terrence nodded, unable to find words. "Mr. Harrison," the doctor said quietly, glancing toward the door where Nicole's voice had finally faded. "The police are going to want to speak with you and with Maya when she's ready. I know." The doctor placed a gentle hand on his shoulder just for a moment, and then she left. The room settled into a strange, heavy silence. Terrence sank back into the chair, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. His mind kept replaying it. The door opening, the mask in her hands, Maya's fingers clawing weakly for air. Nicole's face twisted into something unrecognizable. How long had she been standing there? How close had Maya come? 5 more minutes, maybe less. If he hadn't finished his call early, if he hadn't decided to bring the bear, if he hadn't felt that pull in his chest telling him something was wrong, his daughter would be dead. "Daddy." Maya's voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through the noise in his head like a blade. He looked up. Her eyes were glassy with tears. But there was something else there, too. Something that looked like guilt. "I'm sorry." Terrence's face crumpled. "Baby, no, don't. I should have told you sooner." Her words came slow, each one an effort. The way she looked at me sometimes. The things she said when you weren't there. "I knew, but I didn't want you to be sad. I didn't want you to think I was making it up." "Stop!" Terrence's voice broke. He leaned forward, taking both her small hands in his. "This is not your fault. Do you hear me? None of this is your fault." A tear slipped down Maya's cheek. "I almost died because I didn't want to hurt your feelings." Terrence's chest tightened. He pressed his forehead gently against her hands, his shoulders shaking. "You tried to tell me," he whispered. "You did, and I didn't listen." They stayed like that for a long time, father and daughter, holding on to each other in a hospital room that still smelled faintly of fear and flowers scattered across the floor. Outside the window, the sun was setting. The city lights were beginning to flicker on one by one like stars waking up. And somewhere down the hall, behind locked doors and security guards, the woman Terrence had planned to build a life with was telling anyone who would listen that she'd done it all for love. The police came an hour later. 2 officers, a man and a woman, stood at the foot of Maya's bed, notepads in hand, voices gentle but direct. They asked Terrence to walk them through it, every detail. What time he arrived, what he saw, what Nicole said. Terrence answered mechanically, his voice flat, hollow. But when they asked to speak with Maya, something inside him snapped to attention. "She needs to rest." "We understand, Mr. Harrison," the female officer said, "but we need her statement while the details are fresh." Maya squeezed Terrence's hand. "It's okay, Daddy." She told them what she remembered. Nicole visiting that afternoon, the small talk that felt strained. And then, without warning, Nicole's face changing, hardening into something Maya didn't recognize. She said, "I was in the way," Maya whispered, her voice so small it barely carried. The officers exchanged a glance. "In the way of what, sweetheart?" Maya closed her eyes. "Her future." Terrence sat in the hallway outside Maya's room. Long after the officers left, his head rested against the cold wall, eyes closed, mind racing backward through 4 years of memories he thought he understood. But now, every single one of them felt like a lie. 4 years ago, Terrence had been 31, driven, successful, lonely. He'd built Harrison Technologies from the ground up, turned it into an empire worth hundreds of millions. A young black man from the south side of Chicago who'd defied every statistic, every expectation, every person who'd told him he'd never make it. But money didn't fill the silence in his penthouse. It didn't answer him when he came home at night. He'd always wanted children. But after 2 failed relationships and a string of women more interested in his portfolio than his person, Terrence had accepted that fatherhood might not be in the cards until the day he walked into New Horizons foster home. He'd gone there as part of a corporate charity initiative, writing a check, shaking hands, taking photos for the company website. He wasn't supposed to stay, but then he saw her, a little girl, 6 years old, sitting alone in the corner of the playroom, clutching a worn brown teddy bear, watching the other kids with wide, cautious eyes. She didn't run up to him like the others, didn't perform, didn't smile on command. She just watched. Terrence knelt down beside her. "Hi, I'm Terrence. What's your name?" She looked at him for a long moment like she was deciding whether he was safe. Then quietly, "Maya." "That's a beautiful name." She didn't answer, just hugged the bear a little tighter. "Is that your friend?" She nodded. "Does your friend have a name?" "Brownie." Terrence smiled. "Nice to meet you, Brownie." For the first time, Maya's lips twitched, almost a smile, and something in Terrence's chest cracked wide open. He learned her story later that day. Maya had been in the system since she was 3. Her mother had died of an overdose. No father listed, no extended family willing to take her. She'd been shuffled through 4 homes in 3 years. Quiet, well-behaved, easy to overlook. "She's a sweet kid," the caseworker said, "but she's been passed over a lot. People want babies or kids who are more outgoing." Terrence looked through the glass window into the playroom. Maya was still sitting in the corner, still holding Brownie, still waiting. "What does she need?" The caseworker blinked. "I'm sorry. To be adopted." "What does she need, Mr. Harrison?" "The process it's complicated. There are home studies, background checks, interviews. I'll do all of it. It could take months." "I don't care." The caseworker stared at him. "You're serious?" Terrence looked at Maya again. She glanced up. Their eyes met, and she gave him the smallest, most fragile smile. "Yes," Terrence said. "I'm serious. It took 11 months. 11 months of paperwork, interviews, home inspections, psychological evaluations. But the day Terrence brought Maya home, the day she walked into the penthouse, looked around with wide eyes and whispered, 'This is really mine.' He knew it was worth every second. "This is ours," Terrence corrected gently. "You're home now, sweetheart, and you're never leaving." She cried that night. Not sad tears, relief. Terrence held her on the couch, her small body curled into his chest, and whispered promises into her hair. "You're safe. You're loved. You're mine." And he meant every word. Nicole came into the picture 8 months later. Terrence met her at a charity gala. Elegant, poised, charming, a corporate attorney with her own success, her own world. She didn't need his money, and when he told her about Maya, she smiled warmly. "That's incredible, Terrence. Truly, the world needs more men like you." She met Maya a few weeks later. Brought her a gift, a beautiful new doll. Maya accepted it politely, but later that night she whispered to Terrence, "I like Brownie better." Terrence laughed. "Me too, baby." He didn't see the way Nicole's smile had tightened when Maya chose the old bear over the expensive doll. He didn't notice the way Nicole's eyes lingered on Maya, not with warmth, but with something colder. Calculation. When Terrence proposed a year later, Nicole said yes immediately. She threw herself into wedding planning, smiled for every photo, played the role of loving stepmother to be at every event. But Maya started having nightmares. She'd wake up crying, calling for Terrence. "What's wrong, baby? I don't know. I got scared." Scared of what? She wouldn't say. Terrence assumed it was adjustment anxiety. A new woman in the house. Changes to routines. "Nicole loves you," he'd say, stroking her hair. She's going to be part of our family. Maya would nod, but she never looked convinced. The wedding was beautiful. Nicole glowed. Terrence felt like the luckiest man alive. But during the reception, Terrence found Maya hiding under a table in the corner, clutching Brownie, tears streaming down her face. "Sweetheart, what happened?" "Nothing." "Baby, talk to me." She looked up at him, and for just a second, he saw something in her eyes that terrified him. Fear. "Do you still love me?" Terrence's heart broke. "Of course I do. Why would you ask me that?" "Because now you have her. Hey, listen to me." He knelt down, taking her small face in his hands. "You are my daughter forever. Nothing and no one will ever change that. Do you understand?" She nodded, but the fear didn't leave her eyes. And Terrence, too caught up in the joy of the day, didn't see the shadow standing in the doorway. Nicole watching, her smile gone, her eyes cold. Over the next 3 years, the changes were subtle. Nicole started making little comments. "Does Maya really need to come to the investor dinner? She's so shy. It might be awkward. Maybe we should think about boarding school. Give her more structure. Terrence, people are asking questions about, the adoption." Terrence shut it down every time, but he started working more, trusting Nicole to handle things at home, and Maya grew quieter. She stopped mentioning Nicole, stopped complaining, just withdrew. Terrence told himself it was normal puberty adjustment, but last week he'd found Maya crying in her room. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. I'm fine, Daddy." "Really?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And 2 days later, she collapsed at school. Terrence opened his eyes. The hallway was empty now, silent. A nurse walked past, gave him a sympathetic look, kept moving. He thought about all the signs, the nightmares, the fear, the silence. Nicole's comments, her suggestions, her smiles that never quite reached Maya. And he realized something that made him feel sick. Maya had been trying to tell him. She just didn't have the words, and he hadn't been listening. Terrence stood slowly, his legs shaking. He walked back into Maya's room. She was asleep now, her small chest rising and falling steadily. Brownie sat on the pillow beside her. Terrence picked up the bear, held it gently, and for the first time in years, he let himself cry. Terrence woke to the sound of his phone buzzing. He hadn't meant to fall asleep. He'd pulled the chair as close to Maya's bed as possible, her small hand still wrapped in his, and somewhere in the early hours of the morning, exhaustion had finally taken him. Now pale dawn light filtered through the hospital blinds. Maya was still asleep, her breathing steady, and his phone wouldn't stop ringing. Terrence glanced at the screen. Nicole's attorney, he let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Nicole's sister declined. Unknown number. Unknown number. Unknown number. Terrence turned the phone off and set it face down on the table. He wasn't ready for the world outside this room yet. Wasn't ready to hear Nicole's excuses, her justifications, her twisted version of what he'd seen with his own eyes. All that mattered was the little girl sleeping in the bed in front of him. The little girl. He'd almost lost the little girl he'd failed. A soft knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. A nurse stepped in, not one of the ones from yesterday. This woman was older, her graying hair pulled back in a neat bun, her eyes kind but cautious. "Mr. Harrison." Terrence nodded. "I'm Janet. I'm on the morning shift. Just need to check Maya's vitals, of course." Janet moved quietly around the bed, checking monitors, adjusting the IV drip, her movements gentle and practiced. But Terrence noticed the way her eyes kept flicking to him like she wanted to say something. "Is everything okay?" he asked quietly. Janet hesitated. Then she glanced at the door, making sure it was closed. "Mr. Harrison, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "How long has your wife been Maya's primary caregiver?" Terrence frowned. "What do you mean?" Janet set down her clipboard. The bruising on Maya's upper arms, it's consistent with being grabbed tightly, and there are older marks, faded, but still visible. Terrence's blood went cold. What? And her reaction when she woke up last night, she kept saying, I'm sorry, like she thought she'd done something wrong. Janet's voice softened. Mr. Harrison, I've been a pediatric nurse for 23 years. I know what fear looks like in a child, and that little girl is terrified. Terrence couldn't breathe. Why didn't anyone say anything before we documented it? But without evidence of acute abuse and with a child who won't talk, our hands are tied. We can file a report, but unless the child discloses or a parent speaks up, she trailed off. Terrence looked at Maya, sleeping so peacefully now, her small body so fragile beneath the thin hospital blanket. She tried to tell me, he whispered. She tried, and I didn't listen. Janet placed a hand on his shoulder. You're listening now. An hour later, a detective arrived. Detective Lisa Crawford, mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She sat across from Terrence in a small consultation room down the hall, a voice recorder on the table between them. Mr. Harrison, I need you to walk me through everything again. From the beginning, Terrence did every detail. The phone call from the school, racing to the hospital, Nicole insisting she'd stay alone with Maya, walking in and seeing her hands on the oxygen mask, the words she'd hissed at their unconscious daughter. You should have never come into this family. Detective Crawford didn't react, just took notes. And you're certain about what you saw? I know what I saw. Your wife is claiming it was a misunderstanding, that Maya's mask had slipped and she was trying to adjust it, that you startled her. Terrence's jaw clenched. That's a lie. She's also claiming that you've been under a lot of stress, that you've been working long hours, and that your judgment may have been impaired. My judgment? Crawford met his eyes. She's building a defense, Mr. Harrison, and she's good at it. She's a corporate attorney. She knows how to spin a narrative. So what? She just gets away with this. I didn't say that. Crawford leaned forward. But I need more than your word against hers. I need evidence. Medical records, witnesses, something concrete. The nurses saw the bruises. Bruises can be explained away. Kids fall. They play rough. Unless Maya tells us what happened, or unless we find a pattern of documented abuse. Terrence felt like the walls were closing in, so she has to say it. Yes, she's 9 years old. She's terrified, and she thinks this is somehow her fault. Crawford's expression softened just slightly. I know and I'm sorry, but that's how the system works. Terrence returned to Maya's room, feeling hollowed out. She was awake now, sitting up slightly, picking at the edge of her blanket. When she saw him, her face brightened just a little. Daddy. Hey, baby. He sat down beside her, taking her hand. How are you feeling? Okay. But her eyes said otherwise. Terrence hesitated. He didn't want to push her, didn't want to force her to relive something that clearly hurt. But he needed to know. Maya, sweetheart, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. She tensed. Did I do something wrong? No. God, no, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. He squeezed her hand gently. But I need to know. Has Nicole ever hurt you before? Maya's eyes dropped. Silence. You can tell me. I promise. You're not in trouble. I just need to know the truth. Her lip trembled. She said, if I told you, you'd get mad at me. Terrence's heart shattered. I would never be mad at you. Never. Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. She said, you'd send me back, that you'd choose her, and I'd go back to the home and nobody would want me anymore. Terrence pulled her into his arms, holding her as gently as he could, his own tears falling into her hair. Listen to me. I will never send you back. You are my daughter. You are mine, and I will choose you every single time. She sobbed against his chest, and slowly, haltingly, she began to speak. It started after you got married. She was nice before, but after she changed. She'd grab my arms when you weren't looking, shake me, tell me I was embarrassing her. She said I didn't belong in your world, that people were laughing at you because of me. She'd make me skip meals, said I was getting too heavy. And she told me that if I ever told you, she'd make sure I'd never see you again. Every word was a knife. Terrence felt like he was being torn apart from the inside. Why didn't you tell me, baby? Maya looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. Because I was scared you'd believe her. Terrence held her until her sobs quieted, until her breathing steadied, until she finally fell asleep again, exhausted from the weight of finally telling the truth. Then he stood, kissed her forehead, and walked out into the hallway. He pulled out his phone, turned it back on. 17 missed calls. He ignored all of them and dialed his attorney. David, it's Terrence. I need you to do something for me. Of course. What do you need? I need you to file for an emergency restraining order, and I need you to start divorce proceedings. There was a pause. Terrence, are you sure? Terrence looked back through the window at Maya. Small, fragile, finally safe. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That afternoon, Nicole's lawyer showed up at the hospital. Terrence met him in the lobby. The man was polished, expensive suit, practiced smile. Mr. Harrison, my client would like to speak with you. No, she's devastated by this misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. Mr. Harrison, surely you can see how this looks. You've been under tremendous stress. Your wife has been nothing but supportive. Your client tried to kill my daughter. The lawyer's smile faltered. That's a serious accusation, one that could have legal ramifications if you're not careful. Terrence stepped closer, his tall frame casting a shadow over the smaller man. Tell Nicole she's not welcome at this hospital. She's not welcome in my home. And if she comes anywhere near my daughter again, I'll make sure she regrets it. The lawyer's jaw tightened. We'll be in touch. He turned and walked away. Terrence stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding. For the first time in days, he felt something other than guilt. He felt rage, and he was going to use it. That night, Terrence sat beside Maya's bed again. She was asleep, Brownie tucked under her arm. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're making a mistake, Terrence. I loved you. I loved her. You'll regret this. He blocked the number. Another text came through. She's poisoned you against me. Can't you see that? Blocked another. I did everything for you. Terrence turned off his phone, and in the silence that followed, he made a promise. Not just to Maya, to himself. He would never stop fighting for her. No matter what it cost, the hospital released Maya 3 days later. Terrence had arranged for a private security detail. He wasn't taking any chances. As they walked through the hospital lobby, Maya's hand gripped his tightly, her eyes darting nervously at every stranger who passed. It's okay, Terrence whispered. I've got you. She nodded, but didn't let go. The car was waiting outside tinted windows, driver vetted personally by Terrence's head of security. As they pulled away from the hospital, Maya stared out the window, silent. We're not going home, Terrence said gently. Not yet. I've booked us a suite at the Grandview, just for a few days until things settle. Is she going to be there? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. No, baby. She's not allowed anywhere near you. I made sure of that. Maya nodded again, but Terrence saw the way her hands trembled in her lap, the way she kept glancing over her shoulder like she expected Nicole to appear at any moment. Hey, Terrence reached over and took her hand. I need you to hear me. You are safe. I will not let anything happen to you. Do you believe me? Maya looked at him, her eyes glassy. I'm trying to. Terrence's chest ached. That's all I'm asking. The Grandview Hotel was one of the most exclusive in the city. Terrence had stayed there countless times for business, but this time it wasn't about luxury. It was about distance, security, silence. The suite was spacious. 2 bedrooms, a sitting area, floor to ceiling, windows overlooking the city. Maya walked in slowly, clutching Brownie, taking it all in. "You can have whichever bedroom you want," Terrence said. She chose the smaller one, the one closest to his. That night, Terrence ordered room service. Maya's favorite mac and cheese, apple slices, chocolate milk. She ate quietly, picking at her food. Not hungry. A little. "You don't have to force it." She set down her fork. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby. Are people going to think I'm lying?" Terrence froze. "Why would you think that?" "Because she's going to say I am. She always does." "What do you mean?" Maya's voice dropped. "Whenever I tried to tell you things, she'd say I was making it up. That I was dramatic. That I just wanted attention." Terrence felt his blood turn to ice. "When did she say that?" "Lots of times. Like, remember when I told you I fell off my bike?" "Yeah, I didn't fall." She pushed me. "I tried to tell you, but she said I was lying." "And you believed her?" Terrence couldn't breathe. "Maya, it's okay, Daddy. I know you didn't mean to, but it wasn't okay. None of this was okay." Terrence knelt in front of her, taking her small hands in his. "Listen to me. I believe you now, and I will never doubt you again. Do you hear me?" She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. You see it now." Terrence pulled her into his arms and held her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to the earth, because she was. If you've ever felt unheard by someone who was supposed to protect you, drop a comment and let me know. Sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is finally speak their truth, even when they're afraid no one will listen. The next morning, Terrence's phone rang. Nicole's mother. He almost didn't answer, but something told him he needed to hear this. "Hello, Eleanor?" "Terrence." Her voice was clipped, cold. "We need to talk." "I don't think we do. My daughter is devastated. She's been crying for days. She loves that child. Stop." Terrence's voice was steel. "I know what I saw, and I know what Maya told me. So unless you're calling to apologize on Nicole's behalf, which I won't accept, we have nothing to discuss. You're being manipulated, Terrence. That girl has always been troubled. Nicole tried to help her, tried to give her structure, and this is how she's repaid." Terrence hung up. His hands were shaking. 30 seconds later, another call. Nicole's sister. He declined. A text came through. "You're going to destroy her reputation over the lies of a child who's been in the system. Think about what you're doing." Terrence blocked the number, but they kept coming. Nicole's college roommate, a family friend, someone from their country club, all of them with the same message. "You're overreacting. Nicole would never. That child is troubled." Terrence turned off his phone and sat in the silence of the hotel suite, his head in his hands. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. Terrence checked the peephole. Hotel security. He opened the door cautiously. "Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's a woman downstairs insisting she needs to see you. She says she's family." Terrence's jaw tightened. "What's her name?" "Nicole Harrison. She's not allowed on this property. I made that very clear when I checked in." "Yes, sir. We've informed her, but she's refusing to leave. She's causing a scene." Terrence glanced back at Maya, who was coloring quietly on the floor. "Call the police. Have her removed. Sir, she's claiming you've taken her stepdaughter without her consent. She has no legal rights to my daughter, and there's a restraining order being processed as we speak." The security guard nodded. "Understood. We'll handle it." He left. Terrence closed the door and locked it. Maya looked up. Was that her? "She's not coming up here, I promise." But 10 minutes later, Terrence's phone, still off, began buzzing on the table. He turned it on. 23 missed calls, and 1 voicemail against his better judgment. He played it. Nicole's voice filled the room, shaking, desperate, venomous. "You can't keep her from me, Terrence. I have rights. I've been her mother for 3 years. You can't just erase me because of one misunderstanding. I'm filing for custody. I'm going to fight you. And when the courts hear how you've poisoned her against me, how you've manipulated her into lying, they'll see the truth. You think you're protecting her? You're destroying her." The message ended. Terrence deleted it, but Maya had heard. Her face was pale, her hands gripping Brownie so tightly, her knuckles were white. "Can she do that? Can she take me?" Terrence crossed the room and knelt in front of her. "No, she can't. You are my daughter. Legally, permanently. She has no claim to you. But what if the judge believes her? They won't. How do you know? Because I'm going to make sure they hear the truth from you, from the doctors, from everyone who saw what she did." Maya's lip trembled. "I don't want to talk about it in front of people. I know, and I'll be right there with you." Every second she nodded, but the fear didn't leave her eyes. That night, Terrence couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, staring out at the glittering city below, his mind racing. Nicole wasn't going to back down. She was going to fight. And she was going to use every weapon she had, her family, her reputation, her legal expertise. She was going to paint him as unstable, Maya as a liar, and herself as the victim. Terrence's phone buzzed. A message from Detective Crawford. "We need to talk. Found something you need to see. Can you come to the station tomorrow?" Terrence typed back. "What is it?" "Not over text, in person." Terrence's heart pounded. "I'll be there." The next morning, Terrence left Maya with a trusted bodyguard at the hotel and went to the police station. Detective Crawford met him in a small interrogation room. She slid a tablet across the table. "We pulled Nicole's phone records and her internet search history." Terrence looked down at the screen. His blood ran cold. "Search history 6 weeks ago. How to make a child's death look like natural causes. Symptoms of sudden childhood illness. Can dehydration cause fatal collapse in children? How to adjust oxygen levels without detection. Search history 3 weeks ago. Life insurance policies on adopted children. Legal rights of step-parents after divorce. Can adopted children be returned to state custody?" Terrence felt like he was going to be sick. She was planning this. Crawford nodded for weeks, maybe longer. "The collapse at school. We're investigating that now. It's possible she gave Maya something to trigger it." Terrence's hands clenched into fists. "She tried to kill her." "Yes, and now we have proof of intent." Crawford leaned forward. "Terrence, this changes everything. We can charge her with attempted murder, but I need Maya to testify, and I need you to be prepared for what that's going to mean." Terrence met her eyes. "Whatever it takes." Terrence sat across from Detective Crawford in stunned silence, the tablet still glowing between them with Nicole's search history, a digital confession of intent to murder. "How long?" His voice was owing this. Crawford scrolled through the records. "Based on what we found, at least 2 months, but there are signs it goes back further." She pulled up another file. "We also found deleted emails. Nicole was corresponding with someone, a life insurance agent. She was trying to take out a policy on Maya." Terrence felt the room tilt on my daughter. A $2 million policy listing herself as the beneficiary. That's not possible. She's not Maya's legal guardian. She lied on the application, claimed she'd legally adopted Maya herself. The application was flagged and denied, but she tried 3 different companies. Terrence couldn't speak. Crawford's voice softened. "Terrence, your wife didn't just resent Maya. She saw her as an obstacle. And then she saw her as an opportunity. An opportunity to what? To cash in." Crawford slid a printed document across the table. "This is Nicole's financial record from the past 3 years. She's been bleeding money." Terrence scanned the page. Credit card debt, failed investments, a private loan taken out in her name. "I don't understand. Nicole has her own career. She had a career. She was let go from her firm 8 months ago for embezzlement." Terrence's head snapped up. "What?" "It was kept quiet. The firm didn't press charges. She agreed to pay restitution and leave quietly, but she's been in financial freefall ever since. She never told me. She was hiding it and she was desperate. Crawford leaned forward. Your wife married you for security, Terrence. But when she realized you'd tied most of your estate planning around Maya, that Maya was your primary heir, she saw the writing on the wall. Terrence felt sick, so she decided to get rid of her. Crawford nodded. If Maya died, Nicole would be your next of kin. And in the event of your grief, your vulnerability, she'd have access to everything. Terrence stood abruptly, pacing the small room. I need to see her. Who? Nicole. No, Maya. I need to go back to her. Terrence, wait. She's been carrying this alone. All of it. And I need her to know that I know now, that I see it. Crawford stood. There's more. Terrence stopped. What? Crawford hesitated. We interviewed some of Maya's teachers and her school counselor, and Maya's been seeing the counselor for the past year voluntarily. Terrence's heart sank. Why didn't anyone tell me? She asked them not to. She said it would make things worse at home. What did she tell them? Crawford pulled out another file. The counselor kept notes. She suspected abuse, but Maya wouldn't confirm. She'd just say she was stressed or having trouble sleeping. Crawford read from the notes. Session 11. Maya showed visible anxiety when asked about her stepmother, deflected questions, showed signs of hypervigilance. Session 16. Maya drew a picture during art therapy. She labeled it my family. She drew herself and her father, no one else. Session 23. Maya disclosed that she tries to be invisible at home. When asked why, she said, "It's easier that way." Terrence sank back into the chair, his head in his hands. She was screaming for help, and no one heard her. She was protecting you, Terrence. Kids do that. They think if they're good enough, quiet enough, small enough, the pain will stop. Terrence looked up, tears streaming down his face. I'm her father. I was supposed to protect her. You're protecting her now. Terrence returned to the hotel in a daze. When he opened the door to the suite, Maya was curled up on the couch reading a book. She looked up and her face brightened. Daddy. But when she saw his expression, her smile faded. What's wrong? Terrence sat down beside her. Baby, I need to talk to you about something. She set the book down, her body already tensing. The police found some things on Nicole's computer, things that show. She was planning to hurt you for a long time. Maya's eyes dropped. I know. Terrence blinked. You know, I heard her once on the phone. She was talking to someone about money, and she said she'd be better off if I wasn't around. Terrence's breath caught. When was this? A few months ago. I was supposed to be asleep, but I got up to get water and I heard her in your office. Why didn't you tell me? Maya's lip trembled. Because I thought maybe she was right. Maybe you would be better off, Maya. I cost a lot of money, don't I? The school and the doctors and my clothes. Stop. Terrence pulled her into his arms. You are not a burden. You are not an expense. You are my daughter, and there is nothing in this world more valuable to me than you. She sobbed into his chest. She made me feel like I didn't belong, like I was ruining your life. You are my life. Terrence held her tighter. And I need you to understand something. What she did, what she said, none of that was about you. It was about her greed, her cruelty. You did nothing wrong. Then why does it hurt so much? Terrence's voice broke. Because love isn't supposed to come with conditions, and she made you believe it did. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other in the quiet safety of the hotel room. Finally, Maya pulled back, wiping her eyes. Daddy. Yeah, baby. If I have to talk to the judge, will you come with me every step of the way? And if I get scared, then you look at me. And you remember, you are not alone. Not anymore. She nodded. And for the first time in days, Terrence saw something fragile, but real flicker in her eyes. Hope. That evening, Detective Crawford called again. We've got something else. What now? A witness. One of your housekeepers, Rosa. She came forward this afternoon. Rosa, she's worked for us for 2 years. She said she was terrified of Nicole, that Nicole threatened to have her deported if she ever said anything. Terrence felt his stomach drop. Said anything about what? About the things she saw. Crawford paused. Terrence. Rosa witnessed Nicole locking Maya in her room for hours, withholding meals, destroying her drawings. She even saw Nicole slap Maya across the face once. Terrence closed his eyes. When multiple occasions over the past year, Rosa kept a journal. Dates, times, descriptions. She said she didn't know what to do. Nicole controlled everything in the house, and Rosa was afraid for her family. Is she willing to testify? Yes. Now that Nicole's been arrested, she feels safe enough to come forward. Terrence exhaled shakily. This is enough, isn't it? To convict her. It's strong. Combined with the search history, the financial motive, and Maya's testimony, yes, we have a case. When's the arraignment? Tomorrow morning. You'll want to be there. That night, Terrence lay awake in the dark. In the next room, Maya was finally sleeping peacefully. He thought about all the moments he'd missed, the flinches, the silence, the forced smiles, the way Maya would sometimes pause before entering a room like she was bracing herself. The way she'd apologize for things that didn't need apologies. The way she'd made herself small, invisible. He thought about Nicole's face that day in the hospital, not the mask she wore in public, but the cold, hateful truth underneath. And he realized something that made his chest ache. He'd loved a ghost. The woman he thought he'd married had never existed. She'd been a performance, a calculated illusion designed to get close to his life, his wealth, his world. And Maya, beautiful, gentle, innocent Maya, had been the one to pay the price. But not anymore. Terrence stood and walked quietly to Maya's room. He opened the door just a crack. She was curled on her side, brownie tucked under her chin, her face soft and peaceful in sleep. He whispered into the darkness, "I will spend the rest of my life making this right. I promise." The next morning, Terrence and Maya sat in the back of a courtroom as Nicole was brought in. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a standard jail uniform. Her hair, usually perfect, was pulled back in a plain ponytail, but her eyes, when they found Terrence across the room, was still filled with that cold, calculating rage. Maya gripped Terrence's hand. "I don't want to look at her." "Then don't look at me." She did, and Terrence held her gaze steady and unbreakable as the judge read the charges. Attempted murder, child endangerment, assault. Nicole pleaded not guilty. Her lawyer stood and argued for bail, but the prosecutor counted with the evidence, the searches, the emails, the witness testimony. The judge denied bail. Nicole would remain in custody until trial. As she was led out, she turned one last time. Her eyes locked on Maya, and she mouthed 2 words. "You'll pay." Maya looked away, but Terrence didn't. He stared Nicole down until she was gone, and when the doors closed behind her, he exhaled. "It's over." Maya looked up at him. "Is it?" Terrence kissed the top of her head. "The hard part is, now we get to heal." 2 weeks after the arraignment, Terrence and Maya moved into a new home, not the penthouse. That place held too many ghosts. Instead, Terrence bought a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood across town, tree-lined streets, a park 2 blocks away, a backyard with space for a garden. It was smaller, simpler, but it was theirs. On moving day, Maya stood in the doorway of her new bedroom windows facing the garden. Walls painted soft lavender at her request, bookshelves waiting to be filled. "It's really mine." Terrence stood beside her. "Every inch of it." She stepped inside slowly, like she was afraid the room might disappear if she moved too fast. She set Brownie carefully on the bed. Then she turned to Terrence, her eyes bright. "Can we paint something on the wall? Like a tree or something?" Terrence smiled. We can paint whatever you want. Really? Really? Maya bit her lip, thinking. Can we paint it together? Terrence's throat tightened. I would love that. That afternoon, they went to the hardware store. Maya pushed the cart, her small hands gripping the handle, her eyes wide as she took in the rows of paint samples. Pick any colors you want, Terrence said. She chose 5. Lavender, white, soft green, pale yellow, and gold. What are we painting? A tree, but not a regular tree. A magic one with stars in the branches. Terrence grinned. A magic tree with stars. I like it. At the register, the cashier smiled at them. You two doing a project together? We're painting her room, Terrence said, his hand resting gently on Maya's shoulder. That's wonderful. You're lucky to have such a great dad, sweetheart. Maya looked up at Terrence, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled a real unguarded smile. I know. They spent the entire evening painting. Terrence spread drop cloths across the floor. Maya wore one of his old t-shirts, the sleeves rolled up, paint already smudged on her cheek. She stood on a step ladder, carefully tracing the outline of the tree trunk in soft green. Terrence worked beside her, filling in the branches. A little to the left, Maya instructed. Like this. Perfect. They worked in comfortable silence. The only sounds the soft brush of bristles and the distant hum of the city outside. After a while, Maya spoke. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Do you think I'll ever stop being scared? Terrence set down his brush. Scared of what? That it'll happen again. That someone will pretend to love me and then change. Terrence climbed down from his ladder and knelt beside hers. Come here. She climbed down, and he pulled her into his lap. Maya, listen to me. What Nicole did to you, that wasn't love. Real love doesn't hurt. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't make you feel small. Then what does it do? It makes you feel safe, seen, worthy, exactly as you are. Maya rested her head against his chest. Is that how you feel about me? Every single day. She was quiet for a moment. I'm starting to believe you. Terrence kissed the top of her head. Good, because I'm never going to stop saying it. That night, Maya had her first nightmare in the new house. Terrence woke to the sound of her crying. He was in her room in seconds. She was sitting up in bed, clutching Brownie, her face streaked with tears. Hey, I'm here. Terrence sat on the edge of the bed, pulling her close. She was here in my room, she said. I didn't deserve you. It was just a dream. Baby, she's not here. She can't get to you, but what if she does? What if she... She won't. I promise you she won't. Maya's breathing was still shaky. Terrence thought for a moment. Do you want me to stay with you tonight? She nodded, her grip on Brownie tightening. Okay, scoot over. Terrence lay down beside her and Maya curled into his side, her head on his chest. He wrapped his arm around her, holding her gently. You're safe, Maya. I've got you. Her breathing slowly evened out, and just before she fell asleep, she whispered, I love you, Daddy. Terrence's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, baby. More than anything, the next morning, Terrence made pancakes. Maya sat at the kitchen island, her legs swinging, watching him flip them in the pan. You're really bad at this, she said, giggling as one pancake landed half on the stove. Hey, I'm trying. They're lopsided. Lopsided pancakes taste better. That's not true. Sure it is. It's a scientific fact. Maya laughed, a real bright, beautiful sound that filled the entire kitchen. Terrence stopped, spatula in hand, just to listen. What? She asked, noticing. Nothing. I love hearing you laugh. She smiled softer now. I forgot what it felt like. Terrence set down the spatula and walked over to her. Then we're going to make sure you remember. Over the next few days, they settled into a new rhythm. Terrence cut back his hours at work, delegating more to his executive team. Every morning he walked Maya to the park. They'd sit on the swings talking about everything and nothing. What's your favorite color? Blue. What's yours? Purple. No, wait, yellow. Actually, I don't know. You're allowed to like all of them. Really? Really? One afternoon, they baked cookies together. Maya insisted on adding extra chocolate chips. The recipe says 1 cup, but more is better. I can't argue with that logic. They ate half the dough before it even made it to the oven. Maya got flour in her hair, Terrence got chocolate on his shirt, and they laughed until their stomachs hurt. That weekend, Terrence took Maya to the art museum. She'd never been before. She walked through the galleries in awe, stopping in front of a painting of a garden filled with flowers. "It's so beautiful," she whispered. "You want to try painting something like that?" "I'm not good at painting." "Says who?" "Nicole," she said. My drawings were messy. Terrence knelt down beside her. Nicole was wrong about a lot of things, and she was definitely wrong about that. He took her hand. "Come on, let's go to the museum shop. I'm buying you a real art set." "Really? Really?" That night, Maya sat at the kitchen table, her new paints spread out in front of her. Terrence sat across from her, pretending to work on his laptop, but really just watching her. She painted slowly, carefully, a tree with stars in the branches, just like the one on her wall. When she finished, she held it up. "What do you think?" "I think it's perfect." "You're just saying that." "I'm saying it because it's true." She looked at the painting, then back at him. "Can we hang it up?" "Absolutely." Terrence found a frame, and together they hung it in the hallway right where they'd both see it every day. Maya stepped back, admiring it. "It looks real." "That's because it is real. You made it, and it's beautiful." She turned to him, her eyes shining. "Thank you for believing in me." Terrence pulled her into a hug. "Always. If someone ever helped you believe in yourself again after you'd been torn down, share their name in the comments. Sometimes healing happens when one person refuses to give up on us." 2 weeks later, Maya's therapist called with an update. "She's making incredible progress, Mr. Harrison. She's opening up more, smiling more. She even talked about the future yesterday." "That's a huge step. That's wonderful. She credits you. She says she feels safe now." Terrence's chest swelled. "She's the strong one. You both are." That evening, Terrence and Maya planted flowers in the backyard. Sunflowers, daisies, tulips. Maya dug small holes in the soil, carefully placing each bulb. "Do you think they'll grow?" "I know they will." "How?" "Because we're taking care of them, just like I take care of you." She smiled, wiping dirt on her jeans. "And I take care of you too." "Yes, you do." They worked side by side until the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Maya sat back, surveying their work. "I think this is my favorite place." "The garden?" "No, here with you." Terrence felt his throat tighten. "Mine too, baby." That night, as Terrence tucked Maya into bed, she looked up at him. "Daddy." "Yeah, I'm not scared anymore." Terrence smiled, brushing a curl from her forehead. "I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us." "Me too." He kissed her forehead and stood to leave. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby. Can you leave the door open?" "Of course. And can you sing the song? The one you used to sing when I first came home?" Terrence's heart melted. He sat back down on the edge of her bed and began to sing softly, an old lullaby his grandmother had sung to him back in Chicago, a melody passed down through generations. Maya's eyes fluttered closed, a peaceful smile on her face. And just as Terrence reached the last line, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Unknown number. He ignored it, but then it buzzed again. Text message. "You think you've won, but this isn't over. She'll never be yours." Terrence's blood ran cold. He stepped into the hallway, his heart pounding. Another message came through. "She doesn't belong in your world." and soon everyone will see that. Terrence dialed Detective Crawford immediately. "We have a problem." Detective Crawford arrived at the brownstone within the hour. Terrence met her at the door, phone in hand, his face pale. "How many messages?" 7, all from different numbers, all saying the same thing. "She doesn't belong with me. That I stole her. That I'll lose her." Crawford took the phone, scrolling through the texts. "We'll trace these. But Terrence, you need to prepare yourself. This could be anyone. Nicole's family, her friends, someone she paid, or Nicole herself. She's in custody. She doesn't have access to a phone. Then someone's doing this for her." Crawford's jaw tightened. "We'll find out who. In the meantime, I'm stationing an officer outside your home, and I need you to keep Maya close." Terrence nodded, but his hands were shaking. She was just starting to feel safe. "I know. I'm sorry." Terrence didn't tell Maya about the messages. Not yet. He didn't want to scare her. But the next morning when he walked her to school, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He scanned the street parents dropping off kids, a jogger passing by, a car idling at the corner. Nothing seemed out of place, but the fear still crawled up his spine. "Daddy, you okay?" Maya was looking up at him, her brow furrowed. "Yeah, baby, I'm fine. You seem worried." Terrence forced a smile, just thinking about work stuff. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. At the school entrance, she hugged him tightly. "I'll see you after school. I'll be right here, I promise." She nodded and disappeared through the doors. Terrence stood there for a long moment, watching until she was out of sight. Then his phone buzzed. Another message. She looked happy today. Enjoy it while it lasts. Terrence's heart stopped. He spun around, scanning the street again. Someone had just seen them. Someone was watching. Terrence called Crawford immediately. "They're here. Whoever's sending these, they're watching us. They just described Maya. Where are you?" "Outside her school. Get inside now. I'm sending units." Terrence ran back into the school, his pulse hammering. He found the principal. "I need to see my daughter right now. Mr. Harrison, classes have just started. Someone is threatening her. I need to see her now." The principal's face went pale. "Follow me." Maya was pulled out of her classroom, confused and frightened. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Terrence knelt down, gripping her shoulders gently. "Everything's okay, but we need to go home." "Why did I do something?" "No, baby. You didn't do anything. I just need you with me right now." Her eyes filled with fear. "Is it her? Is Nicole?" "She's still locked up, but someone is bothering us and I need to keep you safe." Maya's face crumpled. "I thought it was over." Terrence pulled her into his arms. "It will be, I promise. But right now, I need you to trust me." She nodded against his chest. "I trust you." They went home under police escort. 2 patrol cars followed them. An officer stood outside the brownstone. Inside, Terrence locked every door, checked every window. Maya sat on the couch, clutching Brownie, her eyes wide. "Daddy, you're scaring me." Terrence sat down beside her. "I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I need to make sure you're safe. Who's doing this?" "I don't know yet, but the police are going to find out." "What if they don't?" Terrence took her hands. "They will, and until they do, I'm not leaving your side." That afternoon, Crawford called with an update. "We traced one of the numbers. It's registered to a burner phone, but we tracked its location." "Where?" 3 blocks from Maya's school. Terrence felt sick. They were right there. "We're pulling surveillance footage now. We'll find them." But 2 hours later, Crawford called again. Her voice was tight. "Terrence, we have a problem." "What?" "The phone was found in a trash can, wiped clean. Whoever's doing this knows what they're doing. So we have nothing. We have the texts, we have the timeline, but we don't have a suspect." Terrence sank into a chair. "What am I supposed to do?" "Keep her close. Stay vigilant. We're working every angle." That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She came into Terrence's room at midnight, tears streaming down her face. I can't stop thinking about it. Terrence pulled back the covers. Come here. She climbed into bed beside him, and he wrapped his arms around her. What if they take me away from you? That's not going to happen. But what if they try? Then I'll fight with everything I have. She was quiet for a moment. I don't want to be scared anymore. I know, baby. But I am. Terrence held her tighter. So am I. She looked up at him, surprised. You are? Yeah. Because I love you so much. The thought of anything happening to you terrifies me. But you're always so brave. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what you have to do, even when you are. Maya rested her head against his chest. Then we'll be brave together. Deal. The next morning, Terrence woke to his phone ringing. Crawford, we got a hit. Nicole made a call from jail yesterday. Terrence sat up. To who? Her sister, Vanessa. Terrence's stomach dropped. Vanessa, Nicole's older sister, cold, calculating, fiercely protective of Nicole. What did they talk about? The call was monitored, but it was coded. Nicole said something about fixing the mistake and setting things right. You think Vanessa's the one sending the messages? We're bringing her in for questioning. When? Now. 3 hours later, Crawford called again. Vanessa lawyered up immediately, denied everything. But Terrence, we found something in her car. What? Photos of Maya, at school, at the park, at your house. Terrence felt his knees buckle. She's been stalking her. Yes. And we found a journal. In it she wrote about how Maya destroyed Nicole's life and how justice needed to be served. Terrence couldn't breathe. Is she in custody? Yes, we arrested her an hour ago. Stalking, harassment, and conspiracy. Terrence exhaled shakily. So, it's over. Crawford hesitated. Terrence, there's something else. What? In the journal. Vanessa wrote about a plan. She said she was going to prove Maya doesn't belong. What does that mean? We're still trying to figure it out, but Terrence, She contacted Child Protective Services. Terrence's blood turned to ice. What? She filed a false report claiming you're an unfit parent, that Maya is unsafe in your care. That's insane. I know, but CPS is required to investigate every claim. They're sending someone to your home tomorrow. Terrence felt the world tilt. They're going to take her. No. Not if you cooperate. Not if you show them the truth. And if they don't believe me. Crawford's silence said everything. Terrence hung up and sank onto the floor, his head in his hands. Everything they'd built, the safety, the trust, the healing, it was all crumbling. Maya appeared in the doorway. Daddy. He looked up and she saw the tears on his face. Her face went pale. What happened? Terrence tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Maya crossed the room and knelt in front of him. Daddy, talk to me. Someone. Someone called the people who decide if kids are safe, and they're coming here tomorrow. Maya's eyes went wide. Are they going to take me away? No. But what if they do? Terrence grabbed her hands. I won't let them. You can't stop them if they want to. I will find a way. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't want to leave you. You won't. You don't know that, Maya. I can't go back. I can't. Her voice broke into sobs, and Terrence pulled her into his arms. You are not going anywhere. Do you hear me? I am your father, and I will fight for you until I have nothing left. But even as he said the words, fear gnawed at him. What if it wasn't enough? That night, Maya refused to sleep. She sat on Terrence's bed, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the wall. What if they don't believe you? They will. But what if they think I'm better off somewhere else? There is nowhere better. You belong here with me. She looked at him, her eyes red and swollen. Do you promise? Terrence took her face in his hands. I promise. On everything I am, you are my daughter, and no one is taking you from me. She nodded, but the fear didn't leave her eyes. And as Terrence lay awake that night, listening to Maya's quiet, uneven breathing beside him, he felt something he hadn't felt since the day in the hospital. Helplessness. He had money, power, resources. But none of it mattered if the system decided he wasn't enough. And the thought of losing her, of watching her be taken away, scared and crying, believing he'd failed her, it was unbearable. Terrence closed his eyes and whispered into the darkness, "Please don't let them take her from me." Outside, the wind rattled the windows, and somewhere in the night, the fight for Maya's future was only just beginning. The CPS investigator arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. Her name was Mrs. Diane Mitchell, mid-50s, gray suit, kind eyes that had seen too much. She carried a leather folder and a quiet authority that filled the room the moment she stepped inside. Terrence met her at the door, his hand trembling slightly as they shook. "Mr. Harrison, thank you for accommodating us on short notice." "Of course. And this must be Maya." Maya stood behind Terrence, gripping Brownie with both hands, her eyes locked on the floor. "Hi, sweetheart," Mrs. Mitchell said gently. "I'm Diane. I'm here to make sure you're happy and safe. Is that okay?" Maya nodded but didn't speak. Terrence placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're ready to answer any questions you have." Mrs. Mitchell smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Good. Let's sit down." They gathered in the living room. Mrs. Mitchell opened her folder and pulled out a legal pad. "Mr. Harrison, I want to start by saying, this is not an adversarial process. My only concern is Maya's well-being. I understand. I've reviewed the report filed against you. The allegations are serious." Terrence's jaw clenched. "They're also false. Whoever filed that report is lying. We'll get to that. But first, I need to hear from both of you." She turned to Maya. "Sweetheart, can you tell me a little about your home? Do you feel safe here?" Maya's fingers tightened around Brownie. She glanced at Terrence. He gave her a small, encouraging nod. "Yes," she whispered. "I feel safe." "That's good. And your dad? Does he take care of you?" "Yes." "Does he ever yell at you or hurt you?" "No. Never." "What about when he's upset? How does he act?" Maya's voice was small but steady. "He talks to me. He asks if I'm okay. He listens." Mrs. Mitchell made a note. "And before you lived here, when you lived in your old home with your dad and his wife, did you feel safe then?" Maya's face went pale. Terrence leaned forward. "Mrs. Mitchell, my daughter has been through significant trauma related to my ex-wife. She's currently in therapy. I understand, Mr. Harrison, but I need to hear from Maya." She turned back to the little girl. "Maya, I know this is hard, but I need you to be honest with me. Did your stepmother ever hurt you?" Tears welled in Maya's eyes. She looked at Terrence, then back at Mrs. Mitchell. "Yes. Can you tell me how?" Maya's voice cracked. She grabbed me, shook me, she told me I didn't belong. She locked me in my room and she wouldn't let me eat sometimes." Mrs. Mitchell's pen paused. "And did you tell your father about this?" "I tried, but I was scared." "Scared of what? That he'd believe her instead of me? That he'd send me away?" Mrs. Mitchell's expression softened. "But he didn't send you away, did he?" Maya shook her head. "No, he saved me." Terrence felt his throat tighten. "And now," Mrs. Mitchell asked gently, "do you want to stay here with your dad?" Maya's voice was fierce despite the tears. "Yes, he's my dad. This is my home and nobody should take me away from him." Mrs. Mitchell turned to Terrence. "Mr. Harrison, I need to ask, are you aware of the accusations made in the report filed against you?" "I was told someone claimed I'm unfit, but I don't know the specifics." Mrs. Mitchell flipped a page. "The report claims you are emotionally unstable, financially exploiting Maya, and that you adopted her for publicity purposes." Terrence felt his face flush with anger. "That's absurd. Maya is my daughter. I adopted her because I love her. Everything I've done has been for her. The report also claims Maya has been isolated, withdrawn from social activities, and shows signs of neglect. That's a lie. Is it? Terrence blinked. What? Mr. Harrison? According to school records, Maya missed 15 days last semester. She was removed from her after-school art program, and her teachers noted she seemed anxious and distracted. Terrence's heart sank. That was because of Nicole. My ex-wife was emotionally abusing her. Maya was terrified. But you didn't report it. I didn't know the full extent until she nearly died. The words landed like a slap. Terrence stared at Mrs. Mitchell, his chest heaving. I failed to see what was happening, I admit that. But I see it now, and I've done everything in my power to protect her since. Mrs. Mitchell studied him for a long moment. Mr. Harrison, loving a child isn't always enough. You have to be present, aware, vigilant. I know that, and I am now. Are you? Or are you overcompensating out of guilt? Terrence felt the words cut deep because part of him feared she was right. Mrs. Mitchell closed her folder. I'm going to need some time to review everything. Medical records, therapy notes, police reports. I'll also be speaking with Maya's school and therapist. How long will that take? A few days, maybe a week. And in the meantime, Maya stays with you. But if I find any reason to believe she's in danger, emotionally, physically, or otherwise, I will remove her immediately. Terrence's blood ran cold. She's not in danger. That's what I'm here to determine. Mrs. Mitchell stood. Thank you both for your time. She looked at Maya. Sweetheart, if you ever need to talk to me about anything, here's my card. You can call me anytime, okay? Maya took the card with shaking hands. Okay. Mrs. Mitchell gave Terrence a long, measuring look. I'll be in touch. And then she was gone. The moment the door closed, Maya burst into tears. She didn't believe us. Terrence pulled her into his arms. She's just doing her job, baby. She thinks you're a bad dad. No, she doesn't. She does, she said. Loving me isn't enough. Terrence held her tighter. Maya, listen to me. I don't care what she thinks. I know the truth. You know the truth, and that's what matters. But what if they take me anyway? Terrence pulled back, looking her in the eyes. Then I will fight. I will go to court. I will stand in front of a judge and tell them that you are my daughter, and I will do whatever it takes to bring you home. You promise? I swear it. That night, Terrence couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. He sat in the dark living room staring at the magic tree Maya had painted now hanging on the wall. His phone buzzed. A message from his attorney. David heard about the CPS visit. We need to prepare for the worst. If they recommend removal, we go to court immediately. I'll start filing paperwork. Terrence stared at the words removal. The thought of Maya being taken, placed in a temporary home, surrounded by strangers thinking he'd abandoned her, it was unbearable. He stood and walked to Maya's room. She was asleep. Brownie tucked under her chin, her face peaceful for the first time all day. Terrence knelt beside her bed and whispered, I will not lose you. I don't care what I have to do. You are mine and I am yours, and nothing will change that. 2 days later, Mrs. Mitchell called Mr. Harrison. I've completed my review. Terrence's heart hammered, and I spoke with Maya's therapist. She confirmed that Maya has made significant progress since moving in with you. She feels safe, loved, and supported. Terrence exhaled shakily. That's good. I also reviewed the police reports regarding your ex-wife. The evidence is overwhelming. So you believe us? Yes, I believe you're doing your best. But Mr. Harrison, I need you to understand something. What? Maya has been through unimaginable trauma. And trauma doesn't just go away because the threat is gone. She's going to need consistent therapy, stability, and patience. I know. And she's going to need you to forgive yourself. Terrence's breath caught. What? You're carrying guilt, Mr. Harrison. I can see it. And so can she. And as long as you're punishing yourself, she'll believe she's the reason. Terrence felt tears sting his eyes. I should have seen it sooner maybe, but you see it now. And you're showing up. That's what matters. There was a pause, Mr. Harrison. I'm closing the case. Maya stays with you. Terrence nearly collapsed with relief. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank that brave little girl in there. She fought for you just as hard as you fought for her. Terrence hung up and walked into the kitchen where Maya was coloring. She looked up. Who was that? Terrence knelt in front of her. That was Mrs. Mitchell. Maya's face went pale, and Terrence smiled, tears streaming down his face. You're staying. You're staying with me forever. Maya dropped her crayon and threw her arms around his neck, sobbing. I was so scared. I know, baby. Me too. But we did it. We did. She pulled back, looking at him with red, swollen eyes. Daddy. Yeah, I love you. Terrence kissed her forehead. I love you too. More than anything in this world. That evening, they sat together in the backyard, watching the flowers they'd planted begin to bloom. Maya leaned against Terrence's shoulder. Do you think we're going to be okay? Terrence wrapped his arm around her. I know we are. How? Because we have each other and that's all we need. She smiled, and for the first time in a long time, Terrence felt something he'd almost forgotten. Peace. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed. Terrence sat in the front row, his hand resting protectively on Maya's shoulder. She was dressed in a soft blue dress, her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, Brownie tucked safely in her backpack. She looked older, somehow, stronger. Across the aisle, Nicole sat in an orange jumpsuit, her face drawn and pale, flanked by 2 guards. She didn't look at Terrence, didn't look at Maya, just stared straight ahead, her jaw tight, her hands cuffed in her lap. The judge entered. All rise. Everyone stood. The trial had lasted 3 weeks. Testimony from doctors, nurses, Detective Crawford, Rosa, the housekeeper, Maya's therapist, and finally, Maya herself. Terrence would never forget that day, the way she'd walked to the witness stand, small but steady, and told the truth in front of a room full of strangers, the way her voice had shaken but never broken, the way she'd looked at Nicole, no longer with fear but with something else, pity. And when the defense attorney had tried to twist her words, tried to suggest she was confused or lying, Maya had looked him straight in the eye and said, I know what happened to me, and I'm not lying. The courtroom had gone silent, and Terrence had never been more proud. Now the judge shuffled papers and looked down at Nicole. Mrs. Nicole Harrison, you have been found guilty on all counts: attempted murder, child endangerment, conspiracy, and assault. Nicole's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we ask for leniency. My client has no prior criminal record. Your client attempted to murder a child, the judge said, her voice cold. A child she was supposed to protect. Nicole's face crumpled. The judge continued. The evidence presented in this case is overwhelming. The premeditation, the cruelty, the manipulation. You saw this innocent child not as a human being, but as an obstacle to your greed. And when your husband chose to love her, you tried to erase her. The judge leaned forward. There is no place in our society for someone who preys on the vulnerable, especially a child. Nicole Harrison, I hereby sentence you to 20 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Nicole's head dropped. Her shoulders shook, but Terrence felt no satisfaction, only relief. As they led Nicole away, she turned just once and looked at Maya. Her lips moved, forming silent words. I'm sorry. But Maya didn't react. She just turned away, leaning into Terrence's side. Can we go home now? Terrence kissed the top of her head. Yeah, baby. Let's go home. Outside the courthouse. The sun was shining. Reporters crowded the steps, shouting questions, but Terrence ignored them. He held Maya's hand tightly as they walked to the car, his security team clearing a path. Once inside, Maya exhaled shakily. Is it really over? Terrence buckled her seatbelt and looked her in the eyes. It's really over. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I thought I'd feel happier. What do you feel? Tired? Terrence smiled gently. That's okay. You've been so strong for so long. You're allowed to be tired. Can we just go home and do nothing? Absolutely. But when they pulled up to the brownstone, Maya gasped. The front yard was filled with people. Detective Crawford, Rosa, Maya's therapist, Dr. Palmer, her teacher, Miss Reynolds, even some kids from school. And strung across the porch was a huge banner. Welcome home, Maya. We love you. Maya's hands flew to her mouth. Daddy, what is this? Terrence grinned. A celebration for the bravest girl I know. Tears streamed down her face as she opened the door and stepped out. Everyone clapped. Miss Reynolds rushed forward and hugged her. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. Rosa was crying, her hands clasped together. You are so strong, mija. So strong. Detective Crawford knelt down. You did good, kid. Real good. Maya was overwhelmed, smiling and crying at the same time. She turned to Terrence. Did you plan this? Maybe. She threw her arms around him. Thank you. You deserve it. The celebration was small but filled with love, cake, laughter, music. Maya ran around the backyard with the kids from school playing tag, her laughter ringing out like bells. Terrence stood on the porch watching her, his chest full. Dr. Palmer approached, holding a cup of lemonade. She's come a long way. She has. So have you. Terrence looked at her. What do you mean? When I first met you, you were drowning in guilt. You could barely look at yourself in the mirror. Terrence nodded. I felt like I'd failed her. But you didn't. You saved her. And more importantly, you showed up every day after. You didn't run from the hard stuff. You faced it with her. Dr. Palmer smiled. That's what real love looks like. Terrence's throat tightened. I just want her to be happy. Look at her. Terrence turned. Maya was spinning in circles, arms outstretched, her face tilted toward the sky, pure joy radiating from her. She is happy, Dr. Palmer said, because of you. Later that evening, after everyone had gone home, Terrence and Maya sat on the back porch steps, watching the fireflies dance in the garden. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Do you think Mom, my real mom, would be proud of me? Terrence's heart broke and healed at the same time. I think she'd be so proud she'd be bursting, and I think she's watching over you every single day. You really think so? I know. So, Maya rested her head on his shoulder. I miss her sometimes, even though I don't really remember her. That's okay. You're allowed to miss her, but I'm glad I have you. Terrence wrapped his arm around her. I'm glad I have you too. They sat in silence for a while, the warm night wrapping around them like a blanket. Then, Maya spoke again. Daddy? Yeah. When I grow up, I want to help kids like me. Kids who are scared and don't have anyone. Terrence looked down at her, his eyes shining. You're going to be amazing at that. You think so? I know so. Because you know what it feels like and you know how to be brave. She smiled. I learned from you. No, baby. I learned from you. 1 year later, Terrence stood in the doorway of Maya's room, watching her pack her backpack for school. She was 10 now, taller, confident. She wore her hair in 2 braids, and her smile came easily. Ready, Daddy? Almost. Come here for a second. She walked over, curious. Terrence pulled a small box from his pocket. I got you something. What is it? Open it. She lifted the lid. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet engraved with 2 words. Forever family. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Daddy, I wanted you to have something you could wear every day. A reminder that no matter what happens, no matter where you go, you are loved. You are mine, and nothing will ever change that. She threw her arms around his neck, sobbing. I love it. I love you. I love you too, baby. Always. He fastened the bracelet around her wrist, and she held it up, watching it catch the light. I'm never taking it off. Good. That afternoon, Terrence stood outside Maya's school, waiting for her. Other parents milled around, chatting, but Terrence just watched the doors, waiting for that familiar face. And then there she was, running toward him, backpack bouncing, braids flying, a huge smile on her face. Daddy! She crashed into him, and he lifted her off the ground, spinning her once before setting her down. How was school? Amazing. I got a 100 on my math test. And Miss Reynolds said my essay was the best in the class. That's my girl. She grabbed his hand, and they started walking home. Can we stop at the park? Of course they walked side by side, Maya chattering away about her day, Terrence listening to every word, and as they reached the park, Maya ran ahead to the swings. Terrence sat on a bench watching her, and he thought about the day he'd walked into that hospital room and seen Nicole's hands on the oxygen mask. The day his world had shattered, the day everything had changed. He'd thought in that moment that he'd lost everything. But he'd been wrong. He hadn't lost anything. He'd found something. The truth, the strength to fight, and the love that had been there all along, just waiting to be protected. Maya ran back to him, breathless and laughing. Push me on the swings always. As he pushed her higher and higher, her laughter filling the air. Terrence felt something settle deep in his chest. Peace, gratitude, joy. Because this was what family looked like. Not perfect, not without scars, but real. Built on love, trust, and the choice to show up. Every single day, no matter what, Maya looked back at him, her eyes sparkling. Higher, Daddy, Terrence laughed. You got it, baby. And as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Terrence whispered a silent thank you to the universe, to God, to whatever force had let him see the truth just in time. Because sometimes love isn't about being perfect. It's about being present and fighting every single day for the people who matter most. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment and tell me, what does family mean to you? Because family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up, who fights for you, and who chooses to love you every single day. Hit that subscribe button, and let's keep telling stories that matter. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you love this story, you will surely enjoy the next one. It's crazier and more intriguing than you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.